Hey there. This is James from Built Prefab, and you've got Keely here. Ian's struggling with some technical difficulties, so if we don't see his face soon, we're just going to kick him off. But thank you for coming tonight and attending. I think this is about our fourth webinar, and it goes really well if you ask as many questions as you want. There's a button, I think, down on the bottom, and you can sort of ask us a question and we'll answer it as we go along. And I guess tonight, the purpose of this webinar was to go over multi-unit modular housing. And I guess, focus a little bit on Bill 44 and then, or just general multi-unit projects. So here's our agenda. We'll do introductions, our mission. Our previous webinar is a bit about multi-unit housing. Talking about site feasibility, zoning and building code, modular configurations, budget stuff, and then next steps are Q&A if you want to get in touch. But I'm thinking we'll talk for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, and if you have questions, obviously just type them in, and otherwise you can always reach us right through our website at builtprefab.com. So Built Prefab, our mission is still to build the best structures in the world, creating innovative solutions that reduce waste and improve lives. And I'm James, the CEO. Ian, the president, is on, but having technical issues, and Keely does customer care and marketing. She's going to send a few polls through the wires here while we're on the call as well, and maybe you can get back to her. So I'm sure most people here, if you do own land already, you've probably seen Bill 44, and obviously are aware of what the government did to promote more units being built in many of the areas. We have like a very simple breakdown, but obviously you can find this online, and also we'll post this on a blog on our site after. But I mean, before Bill 44, you sort of had this single family home zones, and you could have one house, and if you wanted to get it rezoned, it was difficult. Rental was hard, higher development costs. I mean, there is a housing shortage. And then, of course, they did the Bill 44, which applies to municipalities with over 5,000 people. And then something about the lot needing to be in the OCP. So, just like any project that we would do, a big part of it would be to look at the zoning and the rules around it to see what you can build. And then obviously the Bill 44, they just prescribed that you could basically do 3 to 4 units everywhere, and up to 6 units near transit hubs, and obviously subject to size limitations on the property and so forth. So if your property is not big enough, I think you get fewer units, or maybe can't do it. But the bottom line is you get faster approvals for multi-units. You can generate more income potential. And I guess, like, from our perspective, we feel like modular really suits this quite well, and the policies are a little bit more friendly for that. And hopefully this results in more housing supply and affordability. But of course, it takes people like you that are on the phone right now or watching our webinar to follow through on these projects. And I'm sure, like many of the people we talk to, they're like, yeah, we want to do it, but like, it's a tall task to just go ahead and build 4 to 6 units sort of out of nowhere. And we put here, Bill 44, who benefits, and obviously the homeowner does, because if you have a piece of property, you can definitely generate some more rental income. An investor can maximize their property with multiple units, and developers obviously can increase density in key locations. And I guess, at the beginning of this, if we were to work on your project, and if you have a piece of property, maybe you've checked this out already, but the starting point is to determine whether or not your lot is large enough for a multi-unit project. And then, do you have setbacks that are going to impact the design of the building? And then also do you meet the parking requirements for the particular building? I don't think Bill 44 has a ton of parking requirements, which was one of the sort of like negative aspects, I think, of it, because a lot of people said, well, where are you going to park all the vehicles? But I'm sure the municipality will help us through that when you do your zoning. So yeah, common questions answered. What's allowed under Bill 44? And I guess 4 to 6 units, depending on where you are, I guess 3 to 6. Permitting process overview. Well, the permitting process, I believe, is relatively similar to a traditional permitting process. We, go to the city with the building plans, the design, whatever engineering's required, be it structural, geotechnical, building envelope, or even sprinkler, whatever, and go through the process. Obviously, doing multi-family units and multi-unit buildings, some of the other considerations are going to be fire separation, accessibility, and structural needs. So again, that would all be taken care of in a design phase on any building. It's just ensuring that you're meeting whatever it is that is going to be required for the particular building in the particular location. Yeah, and then people ask, like, what could you do with modular buildings, and I think this is a good example here. I've got another presentation. This is on our website, and I think it was out. But what can you do with modules? And I think this is a great example, because you've got a one-story building with two modules here, and what we did was just simply duplicate it to show you that. One example is you can go up. You've got a duplex. It has an exterior staircase in this situation, but effectively we've just taken the boxes and stacked them on top of each other. No problem doing stuff like that. Another option would be to have them side by side with a roof cover. Obviously, you need a wider lot for something like this, but we did have a customer who's got a family member that they wanted to live next door, and they're going to do one of these projects where you basically have 2 units on one lot. Another example is, stack them double high. And this design was actually based off a site project that's near my house. But I mean, it's just taking the same thing and multiplying it, 4 units now, 2 stories. And then of course we've done the sixplex. And again, this has a covered outdoor staircase. I mean, there's many other options as to how you can do these things, but the point is that they are essentially boxes that can be stacked on top of each other. And during the design process, we can figure out, what's the most practical method of maximizing the use on your particular property and making sure that you get the most out of what you're trying to do. What's the benefit of modular over, traditional construction? And honestly, if, for instance, if we go back to this multi-6 project, you're talking here about 12 modules. So most of the square footage is being built in the facility. The major advantage, there would be 2 in this case. One is that when you buy the boxes from the factory, there's a fixed price that it'll never change. Like after the contract's written and they go into production, that is the price for the boxes. So, there's, in a project like this, I would say there's about 20 to 30% of the project needs to be completed out at the site. And obviously there's some varying costs with that, but a large portion of the project, anywhere from 70 to 80% of it, has now been fixed, which can be challenging to do if you're obviously a new builder or developer or whatever, and you're trying to get numbers on things. Like, people love to throw out prices, but when the time comes to actually, execute on a project, it ends up being way more money than they had told you. So that's one of the advantages. And then the second advantage, of course, is the speed and the time frame in which they could be built. So like a great example is we have many customers right now that are building over winter. So the modules are being built in the facility. And then obviously when spring comes, we can hit the foundation and have that done, where we were bringing units in sort of late spring, early summer, and then starting that work. So the season is much different. Where obviously, if you built a sixplex like this on site, late spring, early summer, you'd be starting your framing, and then from there, that whole process, you know, proceeds, and it can take substantially longer. You can be delayed or whatever. So um, that's that part. And again, just to reiterate, I would say, yeah, you get that indoor building in a faster timeline, and obviously that cost predictability, like it's a fixed price that once the design is complete, we can give you, and go from there. And I guess design and budget considerations. So like obviously designs are lot dependent. The determining lot size is 280 meters squared. So it's too bad Ian's not on here, because I know he did this and he put this on here for me. But I believe that's the minimum lot size for one of the multi units under this bill, particularly. Obviously, other people might have lots that aren't in this category. Lots zoned single family or duplexes could be 2, 3, 4 plexes with those same lots. The minimum number of dwelling units that must be allowed by parcel size. So 3 units on a parcel, 200 meters squared or smaller. There's the answer. And then 4 units could be in the 280 meters squared or larger. But again, there's some exemptions. And so he's put some numbers. I don't know if modular portions of the building. So we've got, a whole range, because if you go on Built Prefab's website, I think, obviously we're quite dedicated, sort of like mid high end single family. But when it comes to this product, obviously we're aware that most people are buying this for income or to have rental properties or whatever. And the point is, with this type of product, is that we understand that budgets are going to be much different than if this is your own place at a lake or something. So the modules can start anywhere from, say, $190 a square foot, and then they can work themselves up into the $400 plus. And obviously it just depends on fit and finish. Some of the other issues that you're going to have to deal with, obviously, are structural or building envelope requirements for the municipality, if it requires fire suppression and all of those things. And I guess, it doesn't, the way we would approach this is basically by saying, if you contact us, we're going to talk about your budget right off the get-go. Do you want to build a 3-plex, 4-plex, or a 6-plex? What is the budget range you're working in? What are you trying to achieve? And then we would back the design into that, and talk about the fit and finish. If you were doing a budget, I would suggest that if you had a module at, say, $200 a square foot, you should typically allocate another 30% or possibly 40% to site work, permitting, engineering, inspections, and all of that. And some of it even would depend on, are you going to build garages or carports for the tenants or whoever's going to live there? And I mean, we just have a whole bunch of sort of just random designs that we could show you. This is a 2-story duplex. It's 14 by 70. And this is more on the lower end side, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths in each of the units. Another option could be something like this, where it's a 2-story duplex, but the units are two modules on the bottom. So again, these individual units, on each floor, are 1,680 square feet. And I guess one of the things you want to do when you're building modular is basically keep the design simple, because that allows you to achieve those efficiencies. This is even obviously very simple. So you're talking here a 2-story 4-plex with 4,000 square feet, and each unit's 1,000 square feet with 2 beds and 2 bath and a half. Here's another example of a large building. And I mean, we'll post this later. as to what you might get with like a base type, package. So, it's not necessarily like, yeah, well, at $190 a square foot for modules, we're talking about vinyl siding and smart side, full on insulation to achieve building code compliance in most of the zones. But beyond that, it would go up. So we'll post this. This is like the very basic spec sheet. But when I'm throwing out, dollar amounts, it's really something down here on this level that would be the lowest. Yeah, and how to get started. We always like if people use our build and price tool on our website. So, the main purpose of it is to get familiar with our product. And I'm actually going to show two things here. So we've got Built Prefab's website. You've got our build and price here, and you know you can get a good sense of the module cost for each of the units. We have a second website that we're going to publish soon. It's actually available, and we'll provide you a link. But it's called Waterline, and essentially these are more traditional styled homes at the lower price point, and you're welcome to also navigate these ones to sort of get a sense of what a build and price looks like for those types of units. So that's the first step. And then obviously, if you do a build and price or you get familiar with the product or have questions, the next step is to get in contact with us and start talking about what it is you're trying to do. Budget, do you have property? Do you have a design in mind? What are you trying to achieve? And we can help you along, no problem. If obviously, if you are interested in proceeding, we have a full in-house design team, and we can handle the permitting and get all the engineering and everything put together for you and get through the process. There's we put this in the slideshow. So basically, you could scan this with your phone if you want, and it'll take you right to either one of those sites to build and price. But the Built Prefab website obviously is builtprefab.com. The Waterline one with the more traditional styling and the lower prices is waterlinemodular.com. So yeah, I'm just going to skip to the next pages. I'll probably come back to this one after I've seen what comes next. Yeah, so we went over the multi, and I mean, there's just a bunch of like conceptual designs, yeah, in this brochure, and realistically, it's the same process. It's just more units, and so if you're interested, it's essentially a matter of getting in touch. What's the largest multifamily product that Built Prefab can do? That's one of the questions that we've got here. So, I mean, so first off, it depends. There are if you want to get crazy, you can build basically gigantic modular buildings. At a certain point, it sort of starts defeating itself. But like for instance, in New York, they built a 45-story high-rise out of modules, and it rained on it the whole time. So after it got there, they had to basically redo all the drywall. So what I would suggest is it's a matter of how many units and how it's styled. Like if you wanted to do townhomes, we could literally do as many as you want. If you wanted to do duplexes, we could do as many as you want. If you're talking about just like a multifamily project, I think sort of like a 2 or 3 story with 8 to 10 units is probably where you'd limit it. Otherwise, you're probably better off just doing traditional stick frame and all of that. Additionally, I would say that at a certain point, our design team can't handle your design. We'd have to go into the world of having an architect and so forth. So it just depends on what size it is. Now I've got a raised hand from Eduardo. What can I do for you, Eduardo? He can just type in the Q&A if you've got a question. So I guess that's our presentation. And again, if you're looking for pricing or you want to explore a project, the best thing to do is go on the website. Obviously, you've been there because you wouldn't be here today. And then if you have questions or whatever, email info@Built Prefab, and we can get in touch with you. And if anybody's got any questions, just type them in the Q&A. But we're near the end of our presentation tonight. And of course, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to join us. Here we go. What would a fourplex design cost? I have a 5-lot subdivision. So like I say, it depends. You could do a fourplex starting in the $190 to $200 a square foot range for the modules, plus another, like say we said 200 plus another 40%, or say 30, you're going to be in the 260 range. And then how many square feet is, I have no idea. 5-lot subdivision, just get in touch with us. We can deal with it. Maybe 250 all in. I'm not sure. It just really depends on what you do. And again, like one of the things that it's hard to describe is if you have a building that's got, say, 1,000 square foot units, and then you've got another building that has 2,000 square foot units, the cost per square foot is going to be higher on the smaller footprint than the cost per square foot on a larger unit. And the reason is that if you've got a home, you've got, in 1,000 square feet, you still got a kitchen, mechanical, plumbing, electrical. And then obviously if you move that to a 2,000 square footer, well, it gets amortized over a larger space. And some of those high dollar items that, are, fundamental to the home, they get amortized over that larger place. And so here's Eduardo's question is, what is the heating system that you use? So typically these units would be a forced air system, and it would be dependent on where you're building this house. So we can do all electric with a heat pump, or we could do a dual fuel program, which is, being promoted by Fortis and BC Hydro all over the place. So you can get, rebates and that kind of thing, or we could do straight, a gas depending. And then of course, in certain circumstances where maybe, a regular forced air system isn't, what you want or whatever, there are circumstances where we would do a ductless split with mini splits in the wall. So again, we just have to talk about what your needs are. Yeah, and then, does Built Prefab handle set and connect, dry in? Yes, on finished scope. So yeah, we're able to handle everything right from the permit to handover on these projects, and we have a team that would do the install, tie it up, get all the stuff done, hand it over to you. So yeah, we can definitely talk about that. Obviously, depending on where you are, sometimes it's more practical to have a local crew, just simply because we are based in Kelowna. So if it's up north or something, it's easier to have people handle the site end of it, where we send the units up and deal with it that way. It would just be a matter of what your project is. Chris asks, are you specializing in complying with Okanagan Valley permits and zoning? Some jurisdictions can be problematic. Well, I don't think we specialize in any particular zoning, but we have experience like all over BC. And it's some of the some really challenging areas, so we've permitted with everywhere from Fernie to Kootenays up here, northern BC. We've done on the coast, Whistler area. So I mean, overall, I mean, we haven't run into too many like ridiculous challenges with permitting. Typically, we like to work with the rules instead of against them. Once in a while, there are a few, sort of like requirements where we feel like maybe that's a little bit onerous, but somehow we haven't had too many issues. So if you've got something in particular you want to talk about, Chris, just get in touch with us and we can discuss. Eduardo asks, what are you using for water heating? And so again, it is site dependent and project dependent. Obviously, if you, on a baseline projects, it's probably going to be a water heater. In certain circumstances, we could use a gas on demand water heater. And then even in other projects, when we've had net zero ready step 5 projects, we've been spec'd with a heat pump water heater. So it really just depends on the particular project and the requirements. But typically at the base level, you're just talking about a electric water heater there or gas. Chris says District of Lake Country. Well, yeah, we know what you're saying, and we have permitted there and are actually doing one right now. Which, the first one required a development permit, which took a long time, which we eventually got, and then, and then put a pretty simple house in. And obviously, otherwise, I think Ian's the best one to talk to because he was literally down there the other day handing in a set of plans in person, which I believe they have to be one of the last municipalities we're aware of that sorry, hold on. I think they're one of the last municipalities that's ever made us go in there personally, because typically we've got everything loaded up online. We call them and, there they go. But they were like, we need it down here in person. So whatever, it's just part of the game and we can work through it. So there you go. Smiley face. They're trying to unwind things. Okay. Well, anyhow, I'm not sure, give us a call if you've got a project in mind, and I'd like to talk more and hear more about what you got to say. So, I mean, again, that's been about half an hour, and I think if those are the main questions for now. We really do appreciate you attending. This is our 4th webinar. It'll be posted on YouTube. We'll have it linked on our website. And if anybody has any questions, just email us at info@builtprefab.com. Do we have net zero energy designs? Last question. So yes, basically any house can be built to a net zero ready design. And it's more about having an energy advisor involved to, identify what the building envelope requirements are as far as insulation, air tightness, mechanical equipment, windows. So effectively, they will take one of our designs, and then if you want to do net zero ready step 5, well, what they'll do is put it into their software, and they basically say, look, in order to achieve this step 5, you're going to need X insulation, X air tightness, X mechanical, windows, and then it's just a simple matter of following through on that. Obviously, at the end of the project, once everything's put together, we get a blower door test, and to ensure that we met the air tightness requirements, and voila, you get your net zero step 5. But we've got a number of details that we regularly use for projects like that, namely exterior insulation and a certain window manufacturer, and we've had great success with those projects in the past. So I guess that's it. 6:30. Chris, if you've got some information, please get in touch. We'd love to hear from any of you that were on here. And again, we appreciate you coming out tonight. Ian says thank you, even though he was never able to get his video going. Kaylee, good night, everybody.